Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Star Trek New Worlds. My name is Tony. Thank you for joining us live. If you're catching us live, if you're catching us on the replay, then thank you for taking the time. If you're brand new here, you're probably wondering what in the world Star Trek New Worlds is. Well, let me tell you. It is a turn-based strategy war game that we play online here with you using the rule set of Federation and Empire as published by the Amarillo Design Bureau. The map that you will see here in a second is populated or produced by Vassal, open source software that you can get online for tabletop simulation. All right, so as I can see, the chat is already going crazy with some exciting things. What are we going to be talking about today? Well, I feel like we should just go right into the galactic news, shall we? White House meowing! The Kzinti hegemony has fallen. A massive fleet of tiny Tholian ships descended on the homeworld like a plague of phaser-armed locusts. Every able-bodied Kzinti warrior rose to defend the world, but sheer weight of numbers made the outcome inevitable. Tholian ground forces are now restoring order on the newly conquered world, and an interim government has been established. As New Zin has been forced to its knees, it appears that cats do not, in fact, always land on their feet after all. Reman remonstration. The Reman Empire has had enough of the encroachment of the Juggernauts. The oversized Athena fleet sailed forth from the troubled world of Armageddon and met the Juggernaut probing fleet in open battle. Despite the advanced technology of the mechanical menace, Reman volume of firepower sent the pesky Programmate Pestilence packing. A lone crippled light cruiser was the only Juggernaut survivor of the battle. Reman officials, whom we were unable to reach, could easily be imagined saying, and we quote, "Let that cruiser spread the word amongst the Juggernauts that the Reman Empire, or that Reman space is off limits." Terrible quote. Striking out! The stranded Gorn fleet has decided to leave its far-flung fiefdom and fly felicitously towards home. Daniel, God, I love you. All habitable space on the Gorn ships have been packed with provisions, and spare parts in anticipation of many years' journey. We wish them bon voyage and happy voyage home. Bloodthirsty battleship barbarity. Hot on the heels of their hostile takeover of Hunter's Pride, the Klingon Navy has made it clear that they are not yet done with their cavalcade of conquest. In a blatant violation of Sol Confederacy sovereignty, Klingon forces, led by the infamous battleship IKV Invincible, have destroyed a border base and laid claim to Confederacy resources. Is this a warning shot across the bow of the Terrans, or a prelude to a second invasion in as many years? Only time will tell. A scintilla of security. In an increasingly dangerous galaxy, it behooves the minor powers to find a patron to protect them from the perils of privation and parsimony. Parsimony? That is a word I have not encountered. Daniel, you'll have to tell me more. Perils of privation and parsimony. There we are, parsimony. Toward this end, the world of Scintilla has elected to join the Romulan Empire. In the words of the newly elected prelate, celebrations are joyous, widespread, and mandatory. And that has been our galactic news. All right, I'm noticing that transition is not giving us the audio, which is strange. Not sure that I can fix that on the fly today, but that is okay. Let's jump into the chat real quick and say hi to everyone. Let's see, Eugene. The week's wait. Oh, no, there's more chat than that, is there? Oh, no, okay. The week's worth. Oh, my goodness. Let me try this again. The week's worth. I think it's supposed to be the week's wait. Oh, God, can't talk. Okay, I'll just read it as it's written. The week's worth is over. Where is the Alpha? Is he still in charge? Is he giving information about the Juggies to the Klingons, or is he giving information about the Klingons to the Juggie? Dell says, good evening with a flutter of bats. Bill, shields raised, plasma envelope, phasers, phaser banks full, special shuttles ready to go, red alert. New ships, Eugene says. Battleship or carrier or something better. How much longer do the Balkans have before their resources are split? Then what? Juggie's back in the crosshairs? We'll see. So Bill says, hi, Eugene and Dell. Bill is talking about the Carnarvon light cruiser. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Eugene, howdy, howdy. Paul is in the house, as mentioned before. Devin Dean, hello, everyone. Bill, everyone playing has heard Carnarvons essentially go from Y-Tech to early GW Tech with their new ships. There are a couple of races that do the same. Carnarvons hurt for specialty hulls. Yeah, we'll dive into that a little bit as we dive in here into the map. Hi, Paul. Second leg of Strike Fleet in space turned in and, geez, Louise, space turned in go it. My goodness. Grammar people, my God. Okay, hi, Richard Hayden, and don't forget the thumbs up. Okay, let's, that was crazy. Okay, yeah, let me give you a quick walk around the screen again for those of you who are new. How did you like the galactic news? We'll get into the nitty gritty of what that looks like on the map here in a moment. But if it is your first time here, and you're looking at the screen going, oh my goodness, what is going on? Well, in between me and the chat, you'll see that QR code. That QR code with your phone, do that, and it will take you to that link down below. You can also type in that link. It'll take you to coffee. And that is where you can send us a disruptor fire of caffeinated goodness. Which keeps our warp cores charged and pep in our step to be able to give you the exciting news that comes in through this. It also helps and supports the channel, so thank you very much. But if you're not quite there yet, then you can consider being like Richard Hayden down below and hitting the subscribe button, helping us get to the 500 subscriber mark. We have stalled out just shy of 300 at this point, and so it would be great to be able to cross that 300 threshold before the new year. So let's get her done, as they say in the Oodaway. So, Yeah, hit the subscribe button. Don't be shy, and hit a thumbs up to tickle the YouTube algorithm in just the right way. What else we got here? We got the bar along the bottom there. You will see over in the corner, it will start going green once you fire a coffee our way, and it will steadily progress across the board. Our goal for today's live stream is not 1, 2, 3, but 4 quattro coffees over the course of the next about hour and a half as we go over the latest and greatest that's going on the map. So 4 coffees, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully you can help us get there and see the disruptor fires for each coffee that's donated. All right. Without further ado, let's see if the audio is working on this other transition. We shall go to the map. Looks like that transition is working just fine. You know, vMix, sometimes it's buggy. All right, this is turn 87, ladies and gents. Let's dive into the data, as we shall say. So we'll start off with EP. The Carnivons are rocking and rolling at 42.5 EP. A little stalled out in their progression towards the Lyran homeworld, but we'll see how that goes. The Gorn are at Sweet 63. That's where they were at last turn, and of course they are steady state at 63. The ISC are at 50.5, crossed over the 50 EP threshold, and they are soundly in the middle of the pack. The Klingons just seem to be widening that gap at 79.5, knocking on 80's door. Yes. Yeah, 79.5. That's a little ridiculous. The Remans are at 69.5. So even though I said 79.5 was ridiculous, the Remans are on the cusp of 70 themselves, really sort of cementing themselves in that second place spot. With the Tholians, or sorry, let me not skip over the Romulans. The Romulans at 52.5, really sort of catapulting beyond the 50 mark with their incorporation of the most recent independent planet that they've done, and we'll go over that. I believe that was a Paravian planet. So flutter of wings for the Eagle legions of the Romulan Star Empire. The Tholians are at 64.5 with their recent conquering of the Kzinti homeworld. They look like they're going to be able to catapult a little bit further there when it comes to getting some of those EP that used to be part of the Kzinti pocket of the former Federation Empire. So we'll go over that in a moment. All right, let's talk about fleet cap. The Carnivons are at 99. Ooh, sweet number. With a 266 attack factor, 433 total defense factor. Looks like they've repaired all their ships, so no cripples in the fleet. The Gorn have 87 ships out and about, with 200 total attack factor, 348 defense, so some cripples there in the mix. The ISC just over 100 at 101 with 332 total attack factors and 487 defense. The Klingons have crept up a little bit to 122 hulls in the field with 426 total attack factors and 475 defense. The Remans, there we are. The Remans are at 143 still, the king of the crop, the top of the hill, with 446 total attack factors and 561 defense. Interesting to note, by the way, the Klingons with about 21 less hulls, creeping closer to that total attack factor of the Remans. Of course, the Remans are light years ahead on defense, but 446 to 426, interesting comparison there. The Romulans have 76 ships, which is an interesting comparison when you look at the Carnivon at 99. Total attack factors for the Romulans, 259. For example, compared to the Carnivon's 266, with the Romulans with a total defense factor of 405 compared to the Carnivon 433. I'll share with you why I'm comparing those two in a little bit. The Tholians at the number 2 spot with the total ships out and about is 131 ships with 173 attack factor, 467 defense. Interesting. Notice the disparity, 467 defense factors versus the 525 fleet cap. So there's more than a couple crippled ships in their fleet. Interesting to see. So what is that all going to mean? Well, let's start off with the Balkans, shall we? Because the Balkans is where all the action is happening on the map. All right, let's take a peek. You might notice, by the way, some slight changes in colors from previous live streams. I've updated the module to the one that our GM is using, which is interesting, that it wasn't the same up to now. All that means really is that you'll notice that the things that were black with the Borak are now blue, which is an interesting little color change. So Borak is now in blue as opposed to black, but they're still the Batman faction as far as I'm considered, because their ships still look like bats. All right. So let's look at the Red Roost Regency. That's this Lyran faction, the yellow guys at the very top here. So you can see that this is the pocket that is still remaining after the Remans rolled in and took over Lazarus Industries, which was another minor pocket here that was holding out against the Remans. Triton Fleet and, ooh, look at that, KRM, KD4C. All right, Reman, Triton Fleet. Let's take a peek. Look at this. Put that over my head. All right, so we've got two KRMs, and there's a third one, of course, stacked on this. So these M-era Maulers, which are vicious from the Remans, 10-9 ships. So he's got 3 of those, plus a boatload. Well, not a boatload, more like a quattro of KD4s, 4 cruisers with those 3 KRMs, plus a destroyer. Ooh, 2 M-era destroyers. These M-era frigates. These are K4Ms and KE2 pluses. We've also got a tug in that mix, and that's pretty much it. The rest of the ships that were sort of in that fleet have retroed back to this base, and I believe are going to start getting repaired and get back into the fight. But with that fleet at Triton, the question is, would they have enough to be able to take the Red Roost Regency? I don't know. Red Claw. Let's take a look at Red Claw fleet. Okay. Let's do the side-by-side comparison here. You can see that they've got the Lyrans, that is, have 2 command cruisers. Excuse me, at 4 6s apiece. So that's 8, 12 combined. We have 3 YCAs with 3 6s, 3 attack, 6 defense, that is. 2 YCLs. Jeez Louise, my voice is obviously not warmed up. Let me have a quick sip of coffee. Right. All right, we got 2 light cruisers, 3 cruisers, 2 command cruisers, and a partridge in a pear tree. We've got 7 YDDs floating around and 2 YFFs. 2 stalker teams or prime teams in the mix. And, of course, they've got 4 planetary ground bases and a YDK. So, do I think that Triton Fleet is enough to be able to take that out? No, actually. I don't think. Even though the combined attack factors of this fleet might be significant. I mean, we've got, for example, we've got 3 of these KRMs, which is 30 attack factor on its own. We've got a KD4C, so it'll be the same as this KD4 as far as attack and defense factors. So then another 5 of these 4 6s. That's good. So that's a total of 8 ships. It's a command factor of 8, so they'll only have 1 more ship they can throw in the mix. Let's say it's the K4M, just for S&Gs. They don't have a lot of flak. They don't have a lot of ships that can soak up damage other than the KD4. So the question is, what is your objective or goal? If they just want to take the Red Roost, I think they could do that. They could certainly use their Maulers to be able to take out these YCCs unless they're in formation bonus. And they could also use it to be able to direct damage the YDK, although I believe the amount of damage they'll have to inflict on the YDK will be significant. So we'll see. But they could definitely target various ships and pop more than a couple at a time. So long story short, I think Triton Fleet could take the Red Roost Regency. However, they would cripple a boatload of ships. They would cripple most of these cruisers. The cruisers being 6 defense will soak up quite a lot. But they'll cripple the entire fleet, and they don't have the repair capacity in the back end here to be able to, like in the back end of their empire here, to be able to repair those ships and get them moving forward. So what is your goal? If the goal is just to take the Red Roost Regency, yeah, no problem, they could do that. However, notice the coup language, Tony. It's escaping me. KD3Es. These are exploration or survey vessels that are currently trying to knock out the fog of war hexes between the edge of Reman and the true prize of the former Lyran capital. So we've got the Remans, who are obviously looking to be able to break through the fog of war and make a run for the Lyran Commonwealth. Maybe, if that's the case, Triton fleet would be better spent holding on and sort of building up their strength. For example, with this KRM, there's 2 KRMs here. These are M-era cruisers at 6-7. Wow, yeah, okay, so 6-7 at cruisers. They've got a bunch of cripple ships here. So if they can get these KRMs and these destroyers repaired, so KRMs to the front and the other ships repaired, I think there's a lot of opportunity there to be able to have a substantive force to be able to go in and stir the pot and do damage. So they could do that. However, one of the things to think about is they could take Triton Fleet, take the Red Roost Regency, and then make a run at the Lyran Commonwealth. Okay. No one is competing to get after the Red Roost Regency. There's no threat that anybody else is going to take that. As of right now, there are 3 factions, seemingly, who could make a run at the Lyran Commonwealth. The first is, obviously, the Remans. They're on the edge. But more sort of timely is the Carnarvon. The Carnarvon have a clear route of access into the Lyran Commonwealth. Yeah, they can just dive right in and get there. Also, there is there's the Gorn, who with Mobile Fleet and Farstar's fleet, they've got, so let's take a look at Farstar's fleet. They're currently sort of roadblocked by Farstar's fleet and this Lyran pocket here. But let's take a look at Farstar's fleet. So we can see here we've got a YCC, CA, CL, 3 DDs, 4 DDs, and 2 crippled DDs, a YFF, and a bunch of cripple ships. The Mobile Fleet, which is the Gorn fleet that's there now, I don't believe is going to be enough to do anything. Yeah. So Mobile Fleet is the top one here. Let me just do this so it's easier to see. You've got 2 improved destroyers, another improved destroyer. Like, you just don't even have to look at the number of ships, not to mention the power of those ships, the offensive firepower of those ships is just not competitive to compared to what Farstar's fleet has. So from a time perspective, Mobile Fleet isn't going to pose any significant threat to blowing through this colony and getting north to the Lyran Commonwealth. But what else do they have in the area? They've got 5th Fleet. So Gorn 5th Fleet is, again, nothing to be scared about. It is 2 YCCs, 2 CLs, DD, and 3 FFs. So nothing to sneeze at, but nothing that would be sufficient enough to threaten Farstar's fleet. Damage it, yes, but take it out, no. Vengeance Fleet, we'll note, has been moving north steadily. So depending on the timeline on how quickly it could get there, let's take a look at what's in Vengeance Fleet, by example. And we can see here that Vengeance Fleet is a YDN, YCL, 3 YDDs, a YFF. So again, Vengeance Fleet itself isn't enough, but if you combine Vengeance, 5th, and Mobile Fleet, I think that's enough to be able to take out Farstars. But it's going to take a while for Vengeance Fleet to get up there. If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to be at least 3 turns before Mobile Fleet can be even on that wormhole. Sorry, before Vengeance Fleet can even be on that wormhole and go from there. So at the moment, we have 3 factions potentially vying for the Lyran Commonwealth. The first is the Carnarvons. They have right now direct access to the Lyran Commonwealth. However, they are currently encumbered, or like blocked a little bit, by the Olympus fleet. And the Kzinti faction and Olympus fleet is significant, and they have M-era ships, and it's quite a speed bump. It's not something the Carnarvon are just going to rule and knock right through. And so the question for them is, what do they want to do about it? If they don't deal with Olympus and the Kzinti effectively, or bypass it effectively, then that fleet could cause serious problems for the Carnarvon forces attacking the Lyrans. We'll have to see. Yeah, how do they want to deal with that? But currently, the Kzinti are hostile to the Carnarvon, and we'll just have to see how that goes. The Carnarvon have Topaz fleet there, and let's just take a look at Topaz real quick. So you can see Topaz is a significant fleet. We have 12 frigates, 4 drone bombardment cruisers, 3 light cruisers, 3 destroyers, 4 cruisers, a YCC, and a YDN. So not nothing, certainly. But, I mean, is it enough to be able to take out home fleet for the Lyrans? Let's take a quick look. Lyran home fleet. So the Lyran home fleet is a heavy DN, 3 CCs, 3 CAs, 4 YCLs, 8 YDDs, 2 FF. So I'm going to say no. On the face of it, I don't believe that Topaz fleet would be able to take out home fleet. However, they will decimate each other. They will rock each other to their foundations, and they will certainly have an all-out slugfest. Will the Carnarvon win that fight? I don't know. It depends on where they have the fight. If they have the fight on the YDK, I don't think so, because the Lyrans will have the EW advantage. The question is, what are the Carnarvon going to do? The second thing to worry about is, are the Carnarvon going to be able to get by and not have Olympus fleet attack them? If Topaz fleet was decimated, by example, with attacking the Lyrans, is it possible that Olympus fleet could reach out into the neutral zone, take out that base and the remnants of Topaz fleet? It's very likely. It's possible. I don't know what the GM's going to do there, but it's very possible that that can happen. Yeah. So the Carnarvons are impaired or blocked by the Kzinti. The Remans don't have anyone blocking them. The only thing that's slowing them down is the Fog of War, and that is just a matter of time. The Gorn are on their way up, but they're being currently blocked by Farstars, and they have not enough military force in the area. It'll take at least 3 turns for them to get sort of the weight of their military force in there, and once they're there, they can certainly do something, but the question is, what's that going to look like when it's all said and done? Who knows? 3 factions vying for 1 territory. We'll see who gets there first. Speaking of races, we can see that the ISC, who have been jabbing me in a friendly way about trying to get into the Soul Confederacy, which is this pocket of blue right here. You can see that if we take away the ships real quick, you can see the Klingons have effectively taken this little pocket, the Hunter's Pride, as was in the Galactic News, and they had a battle in the border area of the Soul Confederacy right here with this gray resources, previously blue. There was a YBS here. We blew it up, and the effort there was to be able to tempt home fleet to an engagement in Juliet 14, where this hex is. Now, they didn't take the bait, so we'll have to see how this goes going forward. So the question will be, do we try and make a straight run for the capital? Or do we try and engage home fleet prior to and take them out? 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. There's lots of options there, but we'll have to see what happens in the next turn. Home fleet, for those of you who are not aware, is pretty significant for the Federation. So let's just take a look at this. We'll put it down here. They have a YDN, so 10 command factor, which is important, a YCC, and this is the kicker, 7 YCAs. So 7 of these 4-6 ships, which is a lot considering. So they've got, 7 of those plus their YCC, that's effectively 8. Then they've got a CL, 2 DDs, which are effectively the same combat effectiveness, and then a total of 12 frigates. So 12 frigates is a lot of flak, or a lot of ability to soak up damage. And then, of course, they've got just a lot of these cruisers. Now, will they be able to withstand the might of the Klingon battle cruiser? Let's just take a look at, there's other ships sort of in the vicinity, but let's just take a look at the 2 battle groups that are right there. Insatiable and, come down here, and we'll do this. Insatiable and Invulnerable. These are the 2 battle groups. So you can see here there's a total of 11 E4Ms. These are the sort of zooped up frigates for the M era for the Klingons. So we got 11 of them in 1 fleet and another 2 here. So 13, let's say 13 total frigates, which we've got sort of tied with their frigates. We've got 3 of these destroyers. They're F5Ms. So they are M era destroyers for the Klingons, straight 4. Got a total of 3 D6Ms, that is 7 apiece, and a D6EM, which brings EW to the fight. And the battleship, which is a 12 attack. So if we were just to include the cruisers and the battleship by example, that's 21, 27, brain kick in. 39 attack factor just on those 5 ships. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ships. If we compare to their best battle line, let's just include their cruisers. So 7 times 4 is 28. 8 times 4, 32. And 37 if we include all their cruisers. So from an attack factor perspective, best attack factor, they can, by fielding 9 ships of their total 11 that they can field, if they're all the cruisers, then they'll have close to, but not equal to, the total attack factor of 5 ships from the Klingons. So what is this going to look like? I don't know. If it were just these ships going against home fleet and they've got the YDK there, it'll be a close fight. It'll be a really close fight. Who's going to win? Who knows? But it's going to be a slugfest one way or the other. The question is, what other ships are going to be able to be included in the fight? We don't know. But are the Klingons even going to attack that? I mean, that's quite a... Now, that being said, once home fleet's decimated and or destroyed, there's nothing holding back going after the capital. The Federation capital, as you can see here, they've got planetary ground bases. That's great, 4, 4, and 5, respectively, and 2 YDKs. But send in a pocket of 5 ships, and they'll just cream through all of those. So, yeah, we'll just have to see what this looks like. But there is a strong likelihood that this will go south for the Sol Confederacy in the next couple turns. It just depends on how many other ships are going to be sort of moved to the front, so to speak. But speaking of decimating Federation pockets of strength, look at this. The Tholians have moved in and taken out the Kzinti hegemony, so they got another 4 EP that they can pick up there. And look at all these cripples. Oh, my God. 1, 2, plus 9. That's 11 YPCs crippled. 3, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11. 11 destroyers crippled, plus all these YPCs over here. Got another 2, another 2, another 2. So that's 17 YPCs crippled, 11 YDDs crippled. What do they have left? Woo. Okay, Tholians, show me. Show me what you got. Oh, interesting. So 312th Battle Squadron actually has quite a bit. 5 of these cruisers, 5 destroyers, and these commando... Wow, that's impressive. I'm actually quite surprised that they have that many ships remaining. Now, of course, with the ships that they do have remaining, they can certainly take this pocket of resources. But I'm very curious to see how this is going to go going forward. I wonder. I wonder. Interesting. Okay, well, that's the Balkans in a nutshell. So we've gone over the Balkans, we've gone over the various factions that are vying for it, the Remans, the Carnarvon, and the Gorn going for the Lyrans. We have the Klingons going for the Sol Confederacy, the Tholians who have just taken the Kzinti hegemony. So very interesting to see how this is all going to pan out. Let's quickly jump into the chat and see what you guys are saying. Noticing that is still not showing us the audio. Whoop. Hold on. Okay. Let's move this out of the way. Okay. Chat. What do we got? Okay. So You Can't Be Petty is here. Thank you for joining us. You Can't Be Petty. 3 Maulers. I hope so. In the Triton group. Devin, You Can't Be Petty. Is there going to be a live stream next Saturday? Good question. So next Saturday is Christmas Eve, and I, to be fair, am on the fence. After all, it is Christmas Eve, and there's a lot of stuff that everyone's got to be doing as they're getting ready for Christmas. So I wonder if we're going to have anything. There'll certainly be a turn to be pushed out and published and something we can talk about, but do we want to have a live stream? You let me know in the chat here or in the comments if you're catching us on the replay. Do you want another show on Christmas Eve? The question is, do we take Christmas Eve off or the following sort of next week? Let's just take a quick look at the calendar here. So we would have Christmas Eve is the Saturday, and then New Year's Eve is the following Saturday. So do we have a New Year's Eve and a Christmas Eve show? That would be interesting. We could certainly do that. you let me know what you think. Should we take a break either on those 2 weeks, 1 week, or not at all? Let me know in the comments and or the chat what you think, what you want as far as a live stream. Eugene says, where is the other side of Wormhole Hotel? Hotel being the one that the Federation Home Fleet's on. There is no other side because they haven't transited it. Could that owning empire wait for the Klingons to clear the way and then jump in and take the prize, or would they? Absolutely. I would say that's a great strategy. But again, that wormhole hasn't been transited yet, so we'll see. Bill says, yay, yes, to both shows, please. Okay. Bill, 18 PCs crippled in flight. In fight, I should say. All right. Okay, well, interesting. Okay, so let's dive into, we'll go over the Tholians, and then we'll work our way around into the four powers, and then we'll have a little chit-chat about what's going on in the greater universe, shall we? Mental note to add to my checklist, make sure all the transition audios are working just fine. I don't know why it's not working. It should be working, but, you know, vMix, buggy. All right, so let's go into the Tholians. You can see here a couple of interesting things. One, Brachy fleet. So Brachy fleet is the fleet that's been sitting here on the starbase. Why should we pay attention to this? Because when I pull it up, you will probably see. I haven't checked it yet, so let's just take a look. Brachy fleet. So, okay. So a couple things. One, we shouldn't be able to see what is the most current in Brachy fleet. Why? Because no one has supply to the Juggernaut bases. One. And unless you have a ship directly adjacent to or beside that hex, you can't tell what's in it because it's the sensor range. If you had a base within 2 hexes, you could tell, or a ship right next to it, or a ship with special sensors 2 hexes away, a scout or a survey ship. But we don't have that. So Brachy fleet shouldn't be showing us what is truly in that hex, theoretically. However, from a game master perspective, maybe it's just not worth trying to hide it. So we previously had the assault dreadnought that was in, or the attack dreadnought that was in that hex, and it's now, according to this, gone. Where has it gone to is the question. We can see here that they've, according to the map, have a cruiser, so a 12 attack mauler, light cruiser, 3 destroyers, and 5 frigates. So more, certainly a heavy fleet, and certainly a lot with the starbase to be able to hold that hex. The question is, where is everything else? So we know that there's been a couple bases too that have been destroyed here along the Tholian border. There's this one down here which hasn't been touched. One that was recently destroyed. Oh, my head's in the way. Above my head there, you can see there was a base right around here, and that was destroyed. And the Remans are probably on the edge of destroying this little base right on the corner here. So what's going on with Brachy fleet and that heavy dreadnought? I wonder. Okay. So as we go across the top of Tholian space, we can see there's First Fleet, and I'm always interested in First Fleet because, of course, it's up close and personal to Klingon space. We've got 2 cruisers, 4 DDs, 5 YPCs, and 3 crippled. Those crippled ones I'm sure will be repaired shortly, and then you'll have a reasonably hefty amount protecting this little pocket here. Interesting. So we've got convoy, base, space, exploration. Okay. Interesting. And that's the capital. Oof. I don't know what it is. The capital is so close. It's like, it's a juicy target waiting to be violated. Terrible. Anyways, we can see that there's this auxiliary cruiser that is, or ship of some type. The space people, or the sea people, as I was referring to from the Bronze Age, they're making their way into Tholian space. The question is, what's going to happen? Is anyone going to intercede or block them. The derelict ship has been removed, so I can only assume that these wayfarers from the edge of the galaxy have discovered it and taken it. I'm surprised that the Tholians never took the time to actually get the derelict ship. Interesting. As we can see here, we've got, if I take away the ships real quick, you can see the base distribution. YDK, YDK, YDK. There's a couple YDKs. Oh, interesting. But as far as the ship disposition, it's basically the bulk of their fleet is up here that was involved in the Kzinti operation. And like I say, the total attack factor, when you look at the fleet cap, like we did at the very beginning, when you look at their total attack factor, like how much fight they can bring or how much offensive firepower they can bring to a fight, it's really minimal. So I'm curious and questioning what's going to happen here. How is this going to work out for the Tholians when they eventually fight somebody? Will they fight the Klingons? It's like my mouth is watering in anticipation. But will it be somebody else? I mean, obviously they're playing nice with the Gorn. Romulans seem to be on side, so that's like a three-way alliance of sorts. Who's going to attack them? I mean, I know the Remans are bloodthirsty, just in general. So, I mean, space vampires, what are you going to do? Are they going to do something? Are the ISC going to do something? They both have wormholes that go into Tholian space. I don't know. There's a lot of options on the table, and I'm just curious, shall I say. Yeah. Anywho, very interesting to see how this is all going to play out. But other than that, there's not much else going on for the Tholians. They've given the Juggernauts a wide berth. They've certainly explored up to that starbase and then backed off. You can see that the Gorn and the Tholians are working together for exploration purposes, it would seem. And the Tholians are buffeting or blocking the various wormholes. So the Whiskey wormhole goes into Tholian space, and we'll take a quick look here at Second Fleet, which is on top of this starbase or the YDK here. So you've got 2 cruisers, 5 YDDs, and 4 YPCs, and there's an extra 2 DDs here. So there's 2 plus 5, 7. I mean, there's a significant number of ships here that could certainly help block coming through. The question is how big a fleet would potentially come through. Right now, just taking a quick look at what's over top the Whiskey wormhole, which is right here. Not much. I mean, we don't have a massive fleet. There's Order Fleet there, but if memory serves, Order Fleet, and we'll get to the ISC in a bit here. I don't think, no, wrong fleet, thank you. ISC, named echelons, order. There we are. So there is a CA, 4 CLs, and a tug. So not a lot. And I mean, they've got 2 other CLs there, so 6 CLs. They've got enough to make a go of it, but I don't know that they're going to get through there with that particular fleet and make a big splash, shall we say. Then we've got the November wormhole. This is the one that leads into Reman space. So this is Tholian Third Fleet. Here we are. So 7 YPCs, 2 DDs, and 2 Cs, Y air cruisers. So nothing too crazy. A couple YDDs in addition there, but this isn't like a groundbreaking fleet either. But they've certainly got quite a bit there. So when we look at that fleet versus what is over here in November, so this is the other side of that wormhole, you had Pacific Fleet that rolled in and stomped on some, where is it? Pacifica. That rolled in and did some damage to the Juggernauts. So you can see here they got a cripple there. They probably retroed a bunch of cripples back to this YDK. Oh, where did all those cripples go? Maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe they just destroyed ships. So we got 12 frigates, 12 destroyers, and 2 cruisers. That's a significant amount of fleet. And then there's Athena fleet, Reman Athena, coming in with the big, there's all the cripples. Look at that. So we got 2 cruisers, 4 destroyers, and 2 frigates crippled, but you still got 8 frigates, 18 with the teen. destroyers. My God. Another 6 cruisers plus the command cruiser and the dreadnought. Oh my God, that is yeah. So between Athena and Pacific Fleet, they could literally roll in and decimate the Tholians on the other side if they so chose, and then take a foothold there. So we'll see. I mean, it's all depending on what the Tholians see as their biggest threat. And as you can see on their capital, they've got quite a few ships here. Let's take a look at the Tholian home fleet, just to see what's protecting the homeworld. 5 cruisers, 2 destroyers, and a bunch of these YPCs. There's 5 of them, but then again, we've got a whole bunch just sitting here. These are these kind of tug-like collections here. So that's interesting. And then, of course, the Gulf Wormhole. And I don't believe the Gulf Wormhole has been transited, so we don't really have any sense of what's going on there. So that's it. The Tholians have the bulk of their navy up and attacking the Kzinti, and then the rest are just plugging some holes. But will they be effective plugs? I don't think so. All right. Let's move this over here. All right. Let's take a look at the Gorn, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh. The space people are coming in from the edges of the galaxy, and looks like they are, with a big cruiser, looking to encroach on Gorn's space. Nothing really in the area that could stop them. Let's take a look at Gorn's second fleet. What do you got? Definitely not anything that could stop that with an exploration freighter and a crippled escort. Okay, so that little bad boy is going to cause some damage. The question is, are they going to liberate and or pillage various resources en route? We'll have to see. We got, oh, ladies and gentlemen, a coffee has been fired. Notice over there, you will see that the green has begun to progress across the board. And celebration. Who was it that fired that coffee? Someone fired a coffee. Cheers to someone. Woo. My goodness, so much coffee. It's like falling out of my mouth. It's so much. Oh my God. So much potency, so much power. I can't contain it. All right. What do we got here? We got the Gorn with Hammerfleet. The MC Hammerfleet is in effect in stereo sound. Let's look at the named fleets and see what's in Hammerfleet. We've got not 1 but 2 CAMs, the M-era cruisers for the Gorn, and a light cruiser at a 5.6. Interesting. I was expecting more ships. Well, we can see there's another CAM and a DDM, M-era destroyer, on the homeworld for the Gorn. So it looks like the Gorn, what do they got in their home fleet? Do they have a whole bunch in there? No. I'm looking for the Gorn with all that EP that they got to start pumping out some significant ships or a fleet of some type, but obviously my dreams will go unanswered. But Hammerfleet is on the Victor Wormhole, and the question is, where are they going to go? The Victor Wormhole comes out. Oh, let me move my head to the other side so you can see. Whoop. So you can see the Victor Wormhole comes out right here on the edge of Romulan and Klingon space with all this fog of war in the way. So, yeah, we'll see where they're going to go. I mean, obviously, if they were to go through for whatever reason the Victor Wormhole, there's not much on the other side other than Romulan territory, but they are working nicely with the Romulans, so we'll have to see what that looks like. So a couple of more M ships are coming out from the Gorn side of things, and generally speaking, things are looking pretty peaceful, other than the incursion in the southeast, or southwest, I should say. Let's take a look at 6th and 4th Fleet for the Gorn. What do they got? 6th Fleet and Gorn 4th Fleet. Okay, so we can see here we've got DNCC and what? Oh, 9 DDs. That's a good little collection. And 2 FFs. Another 6 FFs, so that makes a total of 8, and another 2 CCs. So this little collection is quite a good little fleet, or 2 fleets of ships. And where are they going? They were previously used to be able to pop a Juggernaut base, but they're not really going anywhere from there. We can see here, this is the planet. Take away the ships real. Scintilla was the planet that joined the Romulan Empire, with the celebrations being mandatory. So that's what's happened here, and you can see that what's really good about that for the Romulans, it's a point of supply. So couple of interesting notes here. So first of all, point of supply, so it gives them, now they had bases in the area, so not too much, but it just gives them extra reach. Assuming a 4 hex supply, we can see here with the, where is that menu item? Supply menu. Let's look at the Romulan supply menu. And you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the reach that they have with their current amount of supply. So, and I'll move my head to the other side here. Whoop. And then you can see all this business that's going on there. Particular note, we've got the Juggernaut base here and a Borak fleet that's been discovered. Now let's just take a look at the Borak, and I'll bring the ships back here real quick so we can see. That's a White Dragon. So Borak with a White Dragon has, again, Batman faction. Although we're back to the classic 80s blue and yellow from the comic books, not the Tim Burton black and yellow. We got a YCA, YCL, 2 YDDs, and a collection of 4 YFFs. Really a joke of a fleet when we look at the ships that are out and about in the world today. However, so 12th Legion was the one that discovered that. We have, it's a minor planet that is there, which is interesting. And then, of course, you've got this Orion base here as well. So here's a question. If the Romulans, they're indifferent, they can't draw supply through the planet. They can't draw it through the Juggernauts. So are they getting supply through the Orions, in the sense the Orions are allowing them to draw supply through there? I don't know. That'll be interesting. Because what I'm saying is that 12th Legion may be out of supply. We'll just have to see, like, because right now there are no other hexes that supply could run through, and all 3 of these hexes have a base in them, which will block supply. So who's letting supply through if they're in supply? All right, I'm just going to show another supply menu for the Klingons for S&Gs. So it's a little harder to see the Klingons because, of course, they're just gray. But notice the lack of overlap at this point. Now, the Klingons have been quite consistent with saying that they believe that this area is Klingon territory, but the Romulans continue to explore it. So thank you for doing all the thankless heavy lifting. I appreciate it. What's going to happen? We shall see. But 12th Legion is kind of isolated all here by itself. We'll get to the Klingon turn in a little bit, but let me pull off those supply menu or supply Klingon. There we go. Pull that off the map. All right. So what else we got in Gorn territory? That's pretty much it. Well, let's roll into the ROMs. So the ROMs have obviously that planet Scintilla that they've converted. We've got a YDK up here, sort of prepared for an assault on the Juggernauts. We've got a number of Romulan bases sort of along the way here. We've got still the 4th Legion, Romulan Legion 4th. Oh, now this is interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So previously there had been a not insignificant number of ships on the border here, or on the wormhole. And there's, I would say, virtually nothing now. We've got a War Eagle M, which is not a particularly profound ship. 2 Y-era Kingbirds, 2 Y-era Warbirds, a Commando Bird, and a handful of frigates, like 7. A troop transport, which is good, but nothing else. So where's all that Romulan goodness? All right, let's look at Expeditionary Fleet. Expeditionary Fleet. So Expeditionary Fleet, that's this one right here. And we've got 2 King Eagles, 2 Queen Eagles, 5 Snipe Bees, the survey ship, which is the Pelican, PE, and the Tug, which is the FE. Okay. No big deal. Let's take a look at 1st Legion. So 1st Legion, I'll put that right here so you can see that's where 1st Legion is. 2 King Eagles, 2 Queen Eagles, a War Eagle, 5 Snipes, and then another Snipe. So Snipe Bees versus Snipe, and then a Scout. That's interesting. What's in 15th Legion? So 15th is just the Pelican Bird, which is the survey ship. That's the one that's over here. So that's the collection of ships sort of in the area. Now, granted, Expedition and First are both within operational movement of that wormhole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they could go through on a 6. So, I mean, yeah. But it's interesting how the Romulans have positioned their ships so that they are sort of in the best position to move to where the fight might be, i.e., if the Carnivons were, for example, to come through the wormhole, as opposed to the Romulans going through the wormhole, they can shift ships to be able to attack Carnivon ships that have come through the wormhole. The only thing is, excuse me, without a reserve fleet being a counter you would put on either Expedition or First, that would allow you to move those ships. Excuse me, I don't know why I keep hiccuping. So you would be able to move those ships within their operational movement after the Carnivons have moved. So the Carnivons move first. So they would move first. And if there was a reserve counter on those units, then so the reserve counter's on the unit, the Carnivons would move, and then if the Carnivons went through the wormhole, let's say, and established a battle hex in that hex there, Romeo 39, where the wormhole is, if you had a reserve counter on either the Expeditionary Fleet or the First Legion, you could move as many ships as are in the command factor of the, let's say, the King Eagle. So it would be 9 ships plus the King Eagle, so a total of 10 ships. You'd be able to move 10 ships, operational movement to that hex to engage and support that battle. But it seems to me that would be an ineffective use of ships, because you could just put them, for example, Expeditionary Fleet, which is not sitting on a base or anything, put them on the YBS here, and they could react into that hex. And then you could put, for example, the reserve counter on First Legion, and they could move. So you'd be able to make the most of what you have there, whereas in this case, it seems like if the Carnivon wanted to, they could really catch the Romulans with their pants down, in my mind. I don't know. We'll have to see. Interesting, though. We can also see that the Vulture, which is their dreadnought, has moved off of the wormhole, and it would seem like it's moving towards the homeworld, maybe for an upgrade. Era Vulture, pretty vicious looking ship. Just as a quick, let's just take a look at, whoops, wrong one. Ships, Romulan, Vulture. That's a GW ship. Let's look at Era. So the Era Vulture, I don't know if you can see it here, is an 8-10 ship versus the Vulture currently at the Y era is a 7-8 ship. And it's upgradable. So you can take the 7-8, upgrade it to an 8-10. That's pretty jammy. I mean, if that's what he's doing, kudos. Get that upgrade done. That'll be cool. What do we got on the home world? We got home, second, and third. Okay, so let's take a look at Romulan home fleet. Come on now. There we are. Look, I was just talking about this. So here we have a Vulture upgraded. Now, here's the thing. When you convert and/or upgrade this ship for the Romulan player, you can strat move it. So when this ship is upgraded, you can then strat move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's within strat movable distance because it has 6 movement, and assuming you have 2x strat move, you could move it straight to the wormhole if you wanted to. Of course, it can sit nice and tight on the homeworld just as is. We've got second and third. Let's look at second Star Legion, and third Star Legion. Okay, so this is what we got on the homeworld right now. The Vulture, which has been converted, is an 8-10 ship. You've got a King Eagle, which is upgraded from a WE, a War Eagle. So a King Eagle, a Y-era Kingbird, which is the Y-era version of that same ship, a War Eagle, 3 Warbirds, which can be upgraded into War Eagles. War Eagles can then be upgraded into KEMs. It's like a tiered process here. And then, of course, in Second Star Legion, we got a bunch of these YWBs. So how does this work from an upgrade path? You can take, in one turn, you can take the YWB and upgrade it into a War Eagle M. So YWB to a WEM. The next turn, you can take the WEM and upgrade it into a King Eagle or Queen Eagle, KEM or QEM, as the case may be. Now, the Kingbird, the Y Kingbird, needs to be downgraded or reverted back to a Warbird before it can be upgraded again, as I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, if you're out there. And so that, as far as a process, is how that would work for the Romulans. But either way, you can see that they're in a big push to be able to upgrade their ships in and around the homeworld. Interesting, they've also got a W-era frigate or a W-era tug there as well. And I'm curious how they will upgrade that. They can revert it back to a WWB, a W-era warbird, and then upgrade it from there to a Y and then to a an M. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't know they can go straight to a or can it? I'd have to look at it. I don't know that you could upgrade it straight to M. I'd have to see. But either way, upgrade path, very clear there. So very interesting. Okay. And then, of course, we've got I'll move my head out of the way. We've got the exploration ships going off on the west side here, continuing the extended heel of the Romulan boot. And speaking of boot, the toe of the boot, as we scroll down here, whoop, 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 fully explored, and there's not much going on down here other than the Victor wormhole, which, again, Hammer Fleet's on the other side of. So that's what's going on here, Romulan-wise. Let's talk about those dirty Klingons. Okay, let's slide this over here just a little bit. So let's start off with the interaction from the south and go north. You can see here that there was a incursion from the space people. And the Klingons reached out and stomped them. Basically, a group of 4 F4s went out to engage this 9 cruiser, this battle cruiser. We crippled it and it retreated. So 2 of those ships were crippled and there are 2 still remaining. So we'll try and finish it off, so to speak, but we'll have to see how that works. Yeah, we'll just see how well we can eliminate them as a threat. I'm sure as a crippled ship, it's not going to go anywhere, but if it moves into GG53 or FF52, the F4s can pursue. So that'll be interesting. What else we got? We got along the border here a couple things. So there has been, and I believe that if Dave Brewster as the Romulan still has, this is a typo that I keep pointing out, and we've corrected, I think, this turn. There was a Red Fleet on this hex in Echo 48. Red Fleet is not there. The counter is a typo. So that's been removed. Red Fleet is up here with West Fleet. So no deception or anything going on there, Dave, not to worry. We can see here we've got F4s in various positions on various bases. We've got Emperor Fleet, which is sitting on top of the colony with a convoy there. Probably going to build a base there very soon. Just be able to maintain security without maintaining ships there. We've got convoys going back and forth, commercial convoys going back and forth between the Romulan and the Klingon empires, which is great. Good trade. Keep going. We can see up here we've got exploration or survey ships continuing their exploration, pushing out the business up here. West Fleet and Red Fleet. So just as a quick reminder, we've got West Fleet and Red Fleet. So this is what's up there. We've got basically a tug with a D7 with escorts of 3 F5s, 6 F5s, and 3 E4Ms, and another 3 E4Ms. So 6 and 6 respective escorts, a D7M, and a tug. So they'll be probably building some bases up there to line the border and provide supply into the area that is Klingon territory. We can also see as we look over here, we can see the Carnarvon has a R&D team that is making its way to the Carnarvon homeworld with the R&D team, so we can begin our communal teamwork of exploration. We've also got in the north, you can see, we got quite a few cripples that need some repairing. and some exploration that continues to happen. A couple tugs in position to be able to start some base building, as the case may be, and go from there. And that's pretty much it. We got some base building happening. If I take away the ships real quick, base building that's occurred just to sort of line the border here with the Carnarvon. And of course, we got a couple ships here. Not much to say about the Klingons. Really, the focus of the Klingons has been, and truly is, the Balkans and what's going on there. Because, of course, I mean, have you seen the Balkans? It's very exciting. All right, cheers to you. All right, here we go. Let's roll into the Carnarvons, and let's talk about the ship that's going to change the stakes of the game. Okay. The Carnarvon announced quite some time ago that they had reached MTech. Fair. But we hadn't seen any evidence of that. We hadn't seen any ships coming off the line. We hadn't seen any M-era bases being built or anything. There was no indication that even though they claimed they had reached M-Tech, that any there were no payoffs for that that were going on. We didn't see any M-era convoys or anything like that. So the question is, really, did you really get to M-Tech? Well, we can see now, right here in Diamond Fleet, this little guy right here is a CL. Now, as was mentioned in the chat, the Carnarvons are one of a few factions that don't have M-era ships, and they go straight into their quote-unquote GW ships. Now, what does that mean? Let's do this while I discuss. Okay, so the flushing out of these ships has occurred over various modules, over various years in the Starfleet universe as published by EDB. Now, when you think of the Federation Empire game, there's core factions in that game. There are the Gorn, there are the Romulans, there are the Klingons, the Lyrans, the Kzinti, the Federation, and the Hydrants. Those are the core group of factions. And those factions have a fully flushed out GW and early years timeline of when their ships were invented, discovered, introduced, and so on. So there's a fully fleshed out timeline of those factions. Then there were some other factions that were added, like the ISC. So the ISC is kind of an add-on to the map on the east side of where the Gorn and the Romulans are. Now, they also have a pretty fleshed out early years series of ships. And so they're fully fleshed out as well. But there are some other factions that were sort of introduced that don't have the same breadth or detail in their ship layout. And those are the Paravians, which are the feathered Gorn. And you've seen a couple of the minor factions here played as Paravians. And the Carnarvon. Now, I don't know the true and the full backstory on the Carnarvon and the Paravians. However, those two factions existed on that side of the map, on the east side of the map. And I believe both of those factions existed. Actually, excuse me. The Paravians existed in Gorn space, and they are sort of a sub-race of the Gorn, so to speak. The Carnarvons were on the other side of the map, which is where the Lyrans and the Kzinti are, because cats and dogs, right? So the Kzinti are space tigers, the Lyrans are space mountain lions, and so to throw a dog faction in there just was too rich an opportunity not to take advantage of, and so I believe that's where the Carnarvons are on the map. Correct me if I'm wrong, those of you who are deep geek nerds on this subject matter. So anyways, long story short, they don't have the full flush out of all the ships and details. What has been created, especially in this game, has been created by some players that some folks, for example, the Tholian player Derek, who flushed out a lot of this stuff from source material from ADB and sort of their own contextual stuff, inventing or creating ships from a strategic level perspective. And but there is no M-era ships. So if you think about M-era being after, when you think about Pike in the Star Trek timeline, Captain Pike and the USS Enterprise is the sort of the end of the M era of the USS Enterprise. And as we go into the GW era, from the F&E standpoint, that's where Kirk takes advantage of the Enterprise or takes command of the Enterprise. From a visual perspective, if you're watching the original series, you'll see that from the pilot, and you look at the bridge of the Enterprise and it looks very 1960s. And then you kind of take it to the Kirk or the William Shatner version of Kirk era in the original series, and there's an aesthetic difference in the bridge. Now, in the most recent Strange New Worlds, obviously it's been updated. Things look fancier. The ship looks pretty nice. But from the context of this game, think of the early era cruisers and USS Enterprise and M-era ships as being that very first versions of the USS Enterprise and that kind of stuff. And the later versions, as we get into X ships and late GW, that's like late era Enterprise for the original series and the beginnings of the movies for Kirk and Spock and all that in the original cast, leading up to Star Trek VI, by example. So that's what that kind of looks like, if that makes sense. Okay, let's. I can see some chat here. So, you can't be petty. I'm a boomer and keep forgetting to put my name in. LOL. This next turn did a full build. Hammer will have 7 ships. Ooh, all right, let's pull this up front so I can take a look. 7 ships, total of 12 ships, additional ships, 2 more CAs and another CL. Okay. Main reason Paravians Carnivons died in WTech era Vudar were a client race of the Klingons near the Hydran Klingon border. Borak, I think, were a Hydran client race or a Lyran client race. Yeah, there's all these factions that exist within the sort of the tapestry of the Starfleet universe history, and so we've just mapped those out as far as factions that you can play in this game. Hey, Bill, still cannot see you on YouTube. Same for me, George. Hi, back, buddy. Yeah, I'm kind of curious why you guys can't see each other in the YouTube chat. All right. Anyways, so what's going on here? We see that the Carnivons are producing M-era ships, or they're effectively GW ships. What does that mean? Well, we can see they've got a CL, and their CL is a 5 attack, 6 defense ship with heel nippers. Any of the ships with heel nippers, you'll note as we go forward, have 1 less attack than their non-heel nipper counterparts. So this ship has a 5 attack, 6 defense, and it's a light cruiser. It can move 6, and it has a heel nipper. What'll be interesting to see is when their cruisers and destroyers and frigates and those other ships come out, how quickly will they be able to produce those is the question. So we'll have to keep our eye on the Carnivon and what ships start pumping out of their slipways. And of course, why is that important? Because, and of course I'm going to switch over here. So why is that important? Because Diamond Fleet, oh, ladies and gentlemen, another coffee has been fired by someone else has fired a coffee. Cheers. All right, we are halfway to our goal. We are 1 hour and 13 minutes in. If you have stuck with us this long, consider being like Richard and hitting that subscribe button. And if you haven't already, if you have already and you do like what we're doing here, then please tell 2 friends. Let's grow this community so we can get more players, more games, and more excitement going on. After all, I'm looking forward to playing a game of this with all of you who are watching. You want to come and test your mettle against the guy who played the Klingons? I know that I'm looking forward to testing my mettle against previous players that I've contested against. So I am looking forward to the challenge. So let's bring it on, baby. All right. So thank you, someone else, for your coffee support. Cheers. All right. Let's talk about, so we did the Carnivon, right? So the Carnivon, why was I so concerned about the Carnivon? Because Diamond Fleet and Home Fleet. So let's look at Diamond Fleet real quick. Diamante. So Diamond Fleet, we had that up, we had that up a second ago. And of course there is Home Fleet. So Carnivon, Home Fleet. All right, so these are the 2 fleets that are sitting on the Carnivon homeworld. Why is that important? Again, the wormhole that goes into Romulan space. Look at the boatload of ships here. So we've got 5 of these drone bombardment destroyers. We've got 8, 10 drone bombardment cruisers. Y-era cruisers, but nonetheless, there's 10 of them. We've got 2 DNs, 3 DNs, 2 DNs from the Carnarvon, 1 Hydrogen DN. So 2 5.6s or 2 5.8s and 1 6.8. Wow. Then we've got a bunch of these YCCs, 2 of them, 2 CAs. We've got the M era, or the, I guess, GW era CL, 2 CLs, Y era CLs. And then we've got a total of 9. A total of 17 frigates. Long story short, that's a lot of ships. That's more than enough ships to be able to walk through that wormhole and destroy what's on the other side, if the Carnarvon wanted to do that. That being said, it is more than sufficient to be able to defend against a Romulan incursion. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The Romulans are certainly de-escalating from my perspective, in the sense that they've moved ships off of that wormhole hex. So, you know, settle down, everybody. But the inner Klingon in me wants to see a tussle. So, and since it would be so sweet and ironic if the 2 factions who ganged up on the Klingons decided to start fighting themselves. I think that would just be sweet justice or irony. Former allies, now enemies, fighting each other. I think that'd be sweet. So, but not that I'm trying to encourage them to fight, but let's just see how this goes going forward. Okay. Let's roll up to the ISC. So what's happening in ISC space? As was mentioned in the Galactic News, the Strike Fleet is branching off to try and make its way back to the Mother Kingdom, so to speak, with the Gorn. So you can see that Strike Fleet is making its way across ISC space, and we've got a number of, shall we say, babysitters in the vicinity: Enforcement, Injustice, and 4th Fleet. So let's just take a quick look at 4th Fleet. Boop. Wow. Look at that. CL and a diplomat. So nothing there, really. But we've got Justice and Enforcement Fleet. So then they're named echelons. We can just tag that over here. So we've got, what was it? Justice and Enforcement. So Enforcement is a DN, CA, and a boatload. 6 CLs and 2 DDs. And then, Justice Fleet. Justice is a CC, 2 CAs, and another 6 CLs. So we've got a total of 12 CLs. Trifecta of CAs, a CC, a DD, more than enough to be able to stomp Strike Fleet into a powdered mess, if they so are inclined to do. And there, I am assuming Strike Fleet is making its way to a wormhole, potentially this one up here, and make its way back to friendly territory with the Tholians, as they are sort of allied. So that's what's going on here. We can see that's what's going on in this little pocket here. Justice is babysitting Strike Fleet as it makes its way through. I'll be interested to see how they are being supplied, if they are being supplied, how that's going to go. In the north part, we can see no more monsters, which is always great. And we talked about the ships being on the Whiskey wormhole here. The Uniform wormhole, which is the one that goes into the Balkans where the Klingons are, sort of in that neighborhood. We can see we got a tug and destroyer. I'm curious if they're going to build a base. Nope, no base. But I could see the ISC building a base on that side at some point soon. They've got a tug on either side. Why not build a base? But that's okay. You don't have to do that. Other than that, we've got basically some exploration happening. We've got a YFEL doing some exploration here. Tug is probably providing extended supply for that. Small exploration freighter. I'm not sure. They probably had the majority of their exploration fleet destroyed or dismantled by the war. Reinvesting in that at this point would probably be a great way to be able to start, getting some progress forward on that regard. And then we go to the Remans. So as you can see with the Remans, let me just slide my head to the other side here. The Remans are, as we talked about at the very beginning, doing well when it comes to the Red Roost Regency, the Lyran faction up here, and what's going to happen with the Lyran Commonwealth. So are they going to spend time going after the Regency up here, this little pocket, or are they going to go for the main treasure hold of wealth, which is the capital? Again, just as a sort of a recap, let's take away the ship so I can count it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus the Lyran capital. The Lyran capital. 7 plus 8, 9, 10, 11, 14. 14 EP in that pocket, up for grabs. We'll see. We'll see. So the Remans are, again, pumping out M ships like there's nobody's business. We've got a KRT, which is an M-era tug. You can see it as a 6.8. KRM's 6.7s. Interesting. Your tug is more potent than your M-era cruiser. Interesting. So they've got a collection of interesting M-era ships out there. And then, as we were talking about before, Athena and Pacific Fleet, or Pacifica Fleet, I should say, down here by the Juggernaut, taking out Algety. Let's just pull up Algety for S&Gs. The crippled light cruiser is all that remains. So will they be able to take it? Possibly. Will Pacifica Fleet be able to make it to the bats and decimate the bats? Hopefully. If the Remans are able to take out the bats and eliminate all of Algety Fleet, I'll be curious to see what the Juggernaut response is, because as we've seen, the Juggernauts have redeployed assets to be able to defend their core pocket, which is all around Charlie 28. So we should see a starbase probably right around here. And will there be another one down here? I expect that's the case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, man. It's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting real soon. Yeah, so we'll see how this goes as this evolves going forward. But we'll have to see what happens as the Juggernauts kind of get pushed and pressured going forward. So what do you think of what's going on in the game today? We've got the Tholians pushing forward and taking some ground by actually taking out a non-player faction. Not the first time they've done that, but I mean, very interesting that they're pushing, and how much they had to sacrifice from the sense of cripples in order to be able to do that. Have they overcommitted their forces to be able to realize that goal? You could say the same for the Klingons, even though the Klingons are being a little bit more successful from the cripple perspective. They're bringing more offensive firepower to every fight, but they are fighting some substantially bigger fleets and more challenging situations, although I may be biased. The battle through the wormhole, by example, into Hunter's Pride, and currently what is in front of them when it comes to that home fleet from the Soul Confederacy. Those are some pretty big hurdles to cross, and we'll have to see what happens as we go forward. But I expect it's going to be an interesting couple of turns. Certainly leading up to the new year, there's going to be some exciting stuff happening. And the question is, what kind of goals do we want to accomplish? Should the Klingons set a goal that before the new year is here, that we should take the Soul Confederacy? What will that look like? Interesting. Should I take that challenge? Well, speaking of challenges, Remans, what should we do with you? Can you take the Lyran homeworld in time for the New Year's? You've got 2 turns to be able to do it. Can you send enough ships to be able to break through that fog of war now and get in there with an extended supply range with the ships that you have and like take the capital? Speed of execution is the quality to look for here, because after all, you have 2 other competitors for that space. The Carnivons are looking to get into that area with their push on the western side of Lyran space, as well as the Gorn coming north for the same. So how is that going to work out for you? Are you going to be able to take the Lyrans before the Carnivon? Are the Carnivon going to be able to take it before the Remans? Are the Gorn going to come in after the 2 of them slug it out and secure it for themselves? Who knows? The Balkans are such an interesting place at the moment. But far be it from them to be the focus of opportunity. After all, the Carnivons have a interesting opportunity presented to them with that wormhole and the Romulans. Or, from the other's perspective, the Romulans have an interesting dilemma to face when it comes to the Carnivon. The amount of ships on the Carnivon side of that wormhole, I would personally consider an existential threat. If that fleet comes through that wormhole, and purely assume that they have the technology to be able to have supply through that wormhole, What's that going to look like? Your best chance to stop the Romulans, the Romulans' best chance to stop the Carnivon is at the wormhole. So, shouldn't the Romulans man that wormhole up? Shouldn't they try and plug that hole as best they can? Because that is a pretty significant fleet on the other end of that wormhole looking to come through. Maybe. Interesting. We'll have to see. If the Carnivon, now producing M ships, take a turn or two, let's say before the new year, pump out a couple of build turns of M-era ships. So they have a good sort of offensive firepower in there. And they have their Y ships to be able to be sort of like a flak to soak up damage, because they are pretty good on defense factors. What is that going to look like for the Roms? Because right now the Romulans and the Carnivon are comparable, sort of, when it comes to economy. Remember that when it comes to the economy, the Carnivons have 42.5, and the Romulans have 52.5. So there's 10 EP separating them. It's basically a 20% difference from the Romulan perspective, and 5 EP apiece. But if they go to war, what's that going to look like? If they go to war, how many war turns do they have in the bank? The Romulans got a ton. The Carnivon, not so sure. I don't know what they're at. So will they want to go to war with the Romulans? What's that going to look like? And what is the potential upside for them? Certainly for the Carnivons, it's security. But if I look at the map, I don't know that there's a lot of resources on the other side of that wormhole that makes it worth their while. Of course, for the Romulans, taking somebody else's capital is a huge economic upside. Huge. And potentially taking out that player. Lots of interesting options there for the Romulans and the Carnivon as far as what they want to decide to do. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's an interesting dilemma, whichever way you slice it. The ISC, certainly keeping it low key at the moment. They're just kind of puttering away in the background, as are the Gorn. But the Gorn are pumping out their M chips. I haven't seen any M chips from the ISC as of yet, but they can't be too far behind. At the moment, if we do a round robin, the Carnivons are producing M chips. The Remans are producing M chips. The Gorn are producing M chips. The Romulans are producing M chips. The Klingons are producing M chips. And there's only 2 other factions: the ISC and the Tholians. Now, I firmly believe that the Tholians have M-Tech. They just aren't producing M-Tech units. Why? I have no idea. I think the strategy that the Tholian player is taking is that there's two considerations. One, the Tholian player is known to be highly skilled from a player perspective in this game. That is threatening. 2, the Tholians are seen as being a bit of an OP overpowered faction in that their ability, as we've seen, they don't have a great offensive firepower capability, but their defense is ridiculous. And trying to get them off locations or take them out after they've taken a location or established themselves somewhere is said to be difficult. Okay. So if we consider that the Tholians are overpowered from the perspective that it's hard to take them out, and the player that's playing them is a highly skilled player, and that is threatening, then the Tholian player could be assuming that everybody, wants to take him out early because he is a threat. So he's playing it low key. And if that's the strategy, well, he's been doing it very well. He's been doing a great job staying low key and not on anybody's radar. He is 3rd largest economy in the game, 2nd largest fleet, although attack factors are not significant. He's got one of the biggest footprints in the game on the map. If you look at all the metrics, he's doing very well as a player and has yet to face a significant war. Meaning he's got all his war turns in the bank. So if he were to engage in a all-out fight with somebody, he can go the distance. So he's not building M ships because he doesn't want to be threatening. He wants to delay people as long as possible until he gets his M era ships. And those M era ships will be substantially more difficult to dislodge from wherever he is. So he's playing the long game, waiting to GW and then taking advantage of GW. And I expect is over-investing all his EP in technology to try and get to a point where he can out-tech everybody, so to speak. If that is his strategy, and if that is what's going on, so far he's being very successful. The only problem with that strategy is, and this will be we'll have to see if it works out. As you've seen in the progression of this game, you cannot fight a war, or rather, you fight the war with the ships you have, not the ships you want to build. Because once a war has started, it takes too long to build and move the ships into position to sort of build up a substantial force. There's probably about 3, 4, maybe 5 turns that it would take for you to build up that substantial force to be a deterrent or push back against an attacker. And certainly you can't start an all-out blitzkrieg attack if you don't have the ships in place. So if an attack were to happen now against the Tholians, by example, then they would not be able to produce enough M-era ships, assuming they can build M-era ships. They could not build enough of them fast enough and get them forward deployed in the places that they need them in order to stop an all-out decimation of their empire. That's what I think is the Achilles heel of this strategy. Which is interesting because the player in question has, in my experience, traditionally played a very strong hand with large fleets, a lot of offensive firepower, and success through intimidation, which is the opposite of what's going on here. So I'll be very interested to see what the long tail of this strategy is and what that looks like at the end of the game. So, what do you think? Do you think that the Tholians are secretly the winners in waiting, so to speak, of this campaign? Do you think there is a cabal of collusion that is occurring between various factions in the game to take out the Tholians? Do you think that the Tholians' allies, such as the Gorn and the Romulans, are going to stay with them or turn on them when the time is right? With the other factions, do you think that the Gorn and the ISC are going to play nice together with that transit? Probably. Are the Remans going to fight it out with the Carnivons and the Gorn for the Lyran Confederacy? Is the conflict between, or the border tensions between the Klingons and the Romulans going to erupt into anything? There's certainly a lot of fog of war in between them at the moment, but what's going to happen when the Klingon get into position and want to take their territory back? I don't know. There's so much interesting stuff to see. What do you think we should do as a milestone, a push goal, a reach for the end of the year? What do you think should be our New Year's resolution when it comes to this game? And how long do you think we still have? Because, boy, there is a lot going on. And I see you, Eugene. I see you. Fight the Juggies. All right, let's jump into the chat. Where did my chat go? Come back to me now. All right, so, chat. Let's see. Eugene, remind me, if out of supply, half attack factors? Yes. But do you go full speed? No, you go half speed. Or just 1 hex per turn. So half attack factors, full defense factors, half speed. That's how that works. Why? In theory, or in story, it's because you lack ammunition for heavy weapons, hence your attack factor, and you lack whatever the fuel and supply would be for your engines, dilithium maybe, to be able to travel. So that's how that plays out. Bill says 2 hexes a turn after I'm out of supply. So that's because he's at Y-Tech. He can move 4 when in supply, 2 when out. Romulans have no war turns, Bill says. Interesting. George, everybody should hit the Juggies all at once from wherever they are, as the Juggies cannot defend everything. Stay focused on knocking out the Juggies first, then concentrate on your neighbors. Maybe. I guess it depends on who you think is the bigger threat. Bill says, I have 4th and 6th Fleet joining up with the survey there to go get Juggy Hate. Okay, so it seems as though the Gorn are looking to dig in on the Juggies and the Lyrans all at the same time. Nice. Eugene, fight the Juggies. That's what Eugene wants. Any update on the Alpha? What about the legendary E1 captains that first traversed the wormhole and held off the Carnies? Okay, so I still need to craft the RP. I was working out with Daniel, our GM, sort of what was in bounds from my role-playing perspective. Like normally, in a normal role-playing game, you have the character play out their thing, and then the GM gives you their feedback from a role-playing perspective. It's an ebb and flow, a back and forth, a rally, so to speak, of role-playing experience. So because we're doing this by mail, there's not a lot of that opportunity there. So I was just trying to sort out with Daniel what I can and can't, what's in bounds for me to be able to create. So he gave me those boundaries and limitations. I'm going to write it up and I'm going to send it to him and make sure it's all kosher. And then once it's good to go, then I will pump it out and you will see. But long story short, yes, we have the Alpha in hand. We'll have to see what happens with him. When it comes to the legendary E1 captains, I believe you will be seeing, hopefully shortly, some promotions, some role-playing moments that will come forward before the new year. That's my goal. So before the new year, I'll pump out the Alpha roleplay. I'll pump out some roleplay stuff when it comes to the E1 captain, legendary E1 captains, and what they've been able to do or what they're sort of being rewarded with when it comes to leading the charge going forward. So we'll have to see what that looks like, yes. But yes, so stay tuned for roleplay stuff coming through. If you want to be part of our roleplay, again, if you've been this far in our live stream, then you can join us over a coffee. So the QR code and or the link will take you to the coffee page, and there you can get the Coffee and Discord tier of support, and that'll give you access to our Discord channel. On our Discord channel, we have different channels for the different campaigns, or different groupings for the different campaigns, and channels about the story and roleplay that's going on in the game, as well as just chitter chatter, bitter banter that goes back and forth between our players, and so on and so forth. There is some witty stuff that goes back and forth. How witty is up for your discretion, but yes, there is some good community there, and I want to be able to grow that as much as possible, because after all, building this community, growing this player base, allowing this game to thrive and survive is the whole goal here at this channel. So it's all about having fun, playing the game that we like, and enjoying the Star Trek universe in a war game kind of setting. So hopefully that is up your alley, and if it is, please consider being like Richard there, hitting the subscribe button, or heading over to Coffee and throwing us a coffee or two to let us know you like what we're doing. So if that's what you like, that's what you want to do, hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, and away we go. With that said, thank you very much for a wonderful day today. And at almost an hour and 40 minutes, I will bid you adieu. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and I will see you on Christmas Eve. Bye for now.